Okay. Well, welcome everybody, and welcome in particular to Dana and Claire. We're really glad that you have joined this team and appreciate you being with us here today. And we do normally meet around the lunch hour for an hour online, but we wouldn't mind getting out together at some point this summer, to maybe go look at the new Santa Clara Park or something like that. So we won't always be on a flat screen. But I thought maybe we'd just start with introductions so that you can meet everybody, and we can just kind of go however we want to. Well, maybe I'll start. Okay, Ben, I'll pick you first. Ben Clipple.
All right.
Yourself.
Hey, good to see y'all. Ben Clipfell, Marketing Director for Library Rec and Cultural Services. And I will pass it off to Carolyn.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. I'm Carolyn. I'm the Parks and Natural Resource Planning Manager for the city. Dana.
Hi, I'm Dana Terrell. Thank you for having me in this group. I have a company, Terrell Group, and we're a marketing and creative agency. We've had the fun and privilege of working with a variety of people in this group on all kinds of projects that Carolyn was remembering. I don't know what, maybe 10 years? Does it feel like 10 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 10 years. That's about right.
We called it Parks and Recreate, but the real official name is the what system plan?
Yeah, the boring name is the Parks
and Recreation
name,
system
plan.
That was the name I gave it, and then I found out it was boring.
But Parks and Recreate was the brand we created, and that's what got us started, maybe. And then we get to work with Kelly on research and other people. And I think Ben asked me, and he gave me this big long explanation, and I was like, "You had me at hello. I'm in."
Nice, love it.
I'll popcorn over to Craig because he's next to me. Craig, let's do Smith.
Howdy, I'm Craig Smith. I'm the Recreation Division Manager. And I just want to check in that Pat McGilvery was, I assume he was invited also to this meeting? Okay, great. As a new member. So I'll pop it to the other Craig.
All right, I'm the boring Craig. Craig Carnegie, Parks and Open Space Division Manager.
I'll go. Oh, Scott.
I'm Scott. I was just looking at everybody in here, and I think Ben and Josh are the only folks I don't know. So I've been on this committee for, I don't know, a few years now. Was involved heavily with the Eugene Parks Foundation, so I've been kind of in and around parks for a long time.
I'll go. Kelly Shadwick. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for the Parks and Open Space Division. Joshua?
Ben.
Did everything freeze?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Everything did freeze.
You know that moment when it's like, am I frozen or am you frozen?
Yeah, I was kind of shaking my head.
Are you pretending to be frozen, but you're not? Joshua, did you guys hear Joshua? Okay.
Oh, I don't know if I was frozen or not. So I guess I said all of that for no reason.
Yeah.
So hi, everyone. I'm Joshua Bates. I'm the Executive Director of Library, Recreation, and Cultural Services. It's nice to meet some of you for the first time and good to see some familiar faces. I'll go over to Claire.
Hi there, I'm Claire Syred. A lot of you know me. I served on the City Council for 10 years up till 2012 and in 2022, from 2012 to 2022. And I've been on the Eugene Parks Foundation board now for about 4.5 years, I think. Scott recruited me, and I just was appointed chair of the board there. So happy to be included. Thanks for inviting me to participate in this, Craig.
Great. So these meetings are, like I said, about an hour for those of you that are new over the lunch hour. And typically we start with bond and levy updates, kind of how things are going with the bond and levy. And then we also have a chance to just talk about other kind of issues, things affecting the work of Parks and Recreation. And so today we're going to be talking about those bond and levy updates. And we'll start with Carolyn about the bond. And then we might have a little chance to talk about the parks fee and see if Recreation has anything else that they want to mention. It's kind of impacting their work or that's exciting going on. So with that, unless Craig, you want to say a few words, or either Craig or?
No, just, I think
Jump
Kelly just
in.
recognizing that there are 3 other members that aren't here today, right now. So, Jill Featherston-Haw, Molly Rogers, and, who was the other one that was coming on? Pat McGilvery?
Pat McGilvery.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hey,
hopefully they'll
here-
join us because this time did work for them. So.
Hey, Kelly or Craig, I don't know if now would be the appropriate time, but just, I think it would be good, particularly for new members, to talk about what the actual role of the kind of committee is and what, what we're kind of tasked with doing and not necessarily tasked with doing.
Mhm.
Sure. I think everybody received kind of the charter for this board. I mean, it is a department level advisory board, and this is sort of the core group of people that are involved with the bond and levy that passed originally in 2018 and then was re-upped in 2023. And the primary purpose of this group is to just review that work as it's ongoing. We can talk about the challenges and the opportunities. Usually toward the end of the levy cycle, we talked a little bit about some sort of a revenue renewal. We researched some methods for how we might replace the levy before 2023, and that option wasn't available to us. So, this board did help a little bit on rallying folks to have help with the levy and renewal. But basically, it's just an oversight board that kind of gives us feedback about how things are going with the bond and levy. And then annually, you all will review a report and recommend it or not to go forward to City Council and to Sarah Maderi, letting them know that things are going well or not well. And so far, I think we're 6 for 6 on going well for both the bond and the levy. So it's fun work. It's a fun group. We would like to get this group together. I mean, not necessarily together more often. I think we said quarterly, but I think we just want to make sure that we sort of have a little bit more cohesion with the team, just because COVID kind of threw us off and we ended up coming up in this virtual format. And it might be good to get back, like Kelly mentioned, get back to doing some in-person meetings as well. It's always nice to see folks in person. But yeah, that's the main purpose, unless anyone else has some other things they'd like to add that I missed.
That's great. Thanks, Craig.
Should I
Right
take it?
with that, yeah.
So I am just going to give some kind of high level project updates. And I thought I would just share my screen to show this is kind of the centerfold of our annual report, and it is, it has a list of all the projects over here. It has a map of where those projects are, and then this is kind of the status update. And so just for starters, if you kind of look at this side of the screen, there are with 1 or 2 exceptions, literally every project is underway or completed, and we have projects in all stages of completion. And so we have just, all burners are on and we are cooking. And it's exciting. It's great to have some projects under our belt, and to just kind of have just a few kind of remaining that we still need to get started, but really feel like we're making a ton of progress. So that all feels good. And I just was going to give a high level overview. I think I'll bump up the map a little bit just to talk about where the projects are that are currently underway. And by underway, I mean in some form of construction. Currently under construction is the Delta Ponds Loop Trail project, which is kind of in the central Eugene there, not far from kind of the Valley River Center area. And we hope that we really hope that will be done by the end of June. We have a bridge in place, and we are just doing some final work on the boardwalk to connect to the bridge. Had to kind of re-engineer some footings, so it has been a little drawn out, this construction process, but we believe that we are on track to finish and be able to open that this summer. And that is 1.5 miles accessible looped trail through the Delta Ponds complex. Yeah, super exciting.
Can
The other,
Can I interject?
please, yeah, ask questions or interject.
Well, just I love Delta Ponds. It's a place I try to go to when I have the opportunity to get out, and got to see the bridge.
Oh yeah,
So really excited that that project is close to completion. It's going to be really great.
it is going to be really great. And it has been a long time in the making. So, I mean, I think we conceived of it about 20 years ago. So it's so great. The other project that is currently under construction is Santa Clara Community Park, number 3 up here in North Eugene. That got under construction, I think, in May, and the contract says that it will be completed at the end of this calendar year. So hopefully by the end of December, that project will be completely done. Because it's a community park, it's a big project, and we're doing it in phases. Most community parks are done in phases because it's 35 acres. It's a lot to bite off. But phase 1 is a large playground, restroom, picnic shelters, big irrigated turf field, paths that connect throughout the entire site, add a lot of connectivity to that whole neighborhood, as well as just safe places to walk because there's not a lot of sidewalks in the neighborhood. So that's a really exciting project that is currently underway. And then we're kind of on the verge of about 4 other projects starting construction later this year. The first one is Martin Luther King Jr. Park renovation. That is a little tiny park in central Eugene, kind of between Garfield and Chambers and 11th and 6th. So it's kind of in that neighborhood right there, pretty urban. We worked with a Black advisory committee to help us design that park and make sure that people really felt included in the process and would hopefully feel welcome. And we have a fabulous design, and it's going out to bid in June. And we should have a contractor on board in July. I don't know that it will be completed this year. The construction might go into next year, but construction will be underway this summer. So that's very exciting. Arley Park is another one will go out to bid. That is in Southeast Eugene, down in this corner here. Is it helpful to point these out? Can you guys see? Okay. I know where all these places are, but I don't assume everybody else does. Doing a big trail project at Susanna Arley Park. I think we're literally doubling the size of our trail system in the Ridgeline with this one project. A lot of those will be mountain bike oriented trails, but also an extension of the shared use Ridgeline Trail. So we're adding two miles to the Ridgeline Trail for hiking, a lot of other hiking trails as well. And then I think it's 12 miles of mountain biking trails in Arley, which is a big bonus for our system and has been very much desired by the mountain biking community. Also getting underway soon is lighting of the Fern Ridge path. So there's this little green ribbon that follows the Amazon Creek that we call the Fern Ridge path. About 2/3 of that path is currently lit, but we are now filling in that remaining 1/3 of the path, so the entire system will now be lighted. That's a really important commuter route as well as recreational route. And it's been plagued with some concerns around safety, and so this lighting is really important. We're happy to see that going, and we're also using solar. This is our first parks solar lighting project, so that will be good. And then also the Amazon Creek Rewilding Project, which is taking the section of Amazon Creek that currently resides in a concrete box channel between 19th and 24th, and taking out the concrete, laying back the banks, and turning it into a more natural creek state. So we just have a little bit of bond measure money in that project. Most of it is stormwater, but that is a bond project. So that one is also going out to, or getting constructed soon. In the wings, we have a couple really big projects that we're working on, including the Golden Gardens Master Plan. This is Golden Gardens Park is right up here in kind of Northwest Eugene in the Bethel neighborhood. It's a 230 some acre park that we are currently only using a little tiny bit of, and this plan is to really develop a plan for the entire park that will include a sports complex of 14 different fields, as well as habitat preserve and natural trail experience and a neighborhood park site. So kind of all three of those things are happening in that area. And that master planning is underway. And we are planning for our final community meeting this fall. And also in the wings is Maddie Reynolds Park. And this is probably a park you don't know where is. So I will point out it is this number 2 is right there. It's about like 3 or 4 blocks directly north of Churchill High School. It used to be property that was part of the Rexius complex there. There's a big apartment complex next to it. That is an area that we are developing into a community park for this part of town. We do not really have a community park in Southwest Eugene. And we recently, in the last year or two, have acquired additional land at Maddie Reynolds for the future home of a community center and pool. So that one day will be a real focal point of that neighborhood for that part of town. And Maddie Reynolds Park, the park part of it will be, it's currently scheduled for 2026 construction. So that will be our first phase. Maddie Reynolds was one of the pioneering Black community members in Eugene, and she lived in the Across the Bridge community in Alton Baker Park before they were displaced and kicked out for the construction of the Ferry Street Bridge. Her daughter, Lily Reynolds Parker, is on our committee that is helping to design that park. And it's been a really special experience. We had a meeting last night of that committee, and people like the design. We're going in the right direction. So I don't know how much more time I have, Kelly, but there's one more thing that I guess I would love to mention, and that is anybody who is involved with development these days knows that prices are skyrocketing and just continue. to grow. And so we continue to be challenged with our capital project budgets, but we have been able to leverage resources to meet every single project demand. And I think that we will be able to continue to do that. We have system development charge funds, which are paid by development and which are this kind of ongoing funding stream, which we've been able to leverage and match up with our bond dollars in order to kind of make those dollars go further. And we've also been pretty darn successful with grants. And so excited to let you all know that we just got a $1.5 million grant from the EPA for Train Song Park. Train Song Park is number 6 here. It's in the Bethel Triangle, kind of, some people think of that as the Bethel Triangle area. We discovered that there was soil contamination in that park last year, and we had to close off portions of that park. And once we understood kind of the scope of the problem, we were able to apply for EPA brownfield grant funding, and just in the last week, we found out that we were successful. And yeah, so 2025, next year, we will start the remediation, basically removing all the contaminated soil and replacing it. And then on the heels of that project, because it is a bond funded project, we're going to come in with the park renovation. So, you know, what is kind of a very sad situation, an unfortunate situation today, I think, you know, the park will be closed for a period of time, maybe a year or more, but when it opens up, it's going to be bigger and better, and just hopefully do right by that community. So excited about that. And then we also
Can I ask a question, Carol?
yeah, please.
On that, and I'm sure you guys have intentions on this, but you know, the Train Song Neighborhood Association is essentially defunct, right? And efforts to revive it were challenging. So I think, you know, some form of robust engagement with the neighbors there, because it is the neighborhood park, right? I hope it's gonna be part of the plan, knowing that there's not a neighborhood association that can easily help facilitate that.
Yeah, it's going to make it a little more challenging because of that. When we were working on the grant application, we worked through ABC, through the Active Bethel Citizens, or did they Active Bethel Community, I think it's
Community,
called now.
yeah.
And Lynn Woodrich. And so they kind of sponsored that neighborhood. And so we'll probably do something similar, and then just a robust mailing and flyering around the neighborhood to let people know what's going on.
Yeah, and opportunities to convene. And then I know Square One Villages will have their I think it's their Rosa Parks micro housing is right in there too. And
Yeah.
so that's going to be a significant number of neighbors, and they've got some
Awesome.
obviously some connections in the neighborhood as well.
That's great. Thanks for mentioning that.
I can add to that, Carolyn, too, and Claire, is that when we had a Fun for All site at Train Song before its closure, we actually worked closely with the church that's nearby, and the members of the church were very proactive in trying to have a safe place for their kids to go. So there are active chunks of folks out there in Train Song that really care about that park.
Yes, and that, I mean, that was my experience with that neighborhood, is people do care, and
Yeah.
You want opportunities to engage. There just wasn't those particular catalyst folks who could spark a neighborhood association regroup, right? But people did pay attention to stuff and engage where there was opportunity.
And I thank you. And I was actually the park planner on Train Song Park the last time we renovated that park. That shows how long I've been here. And I totally found the same thing, and it was probably my favorite park project I ever worked on because the people were so grateful that we were paying attention and wanting to meet their needs and asking them what they wanted. And it was just really a rewarding experience. And it was all about the kids. Like, we just need we need things for our kids. And so anyways, I'm looking forward to that next engagement process. And then, oh, just to let everyone know, we are awaiting word on another grant that we applied for Suzanne Hartley Park. That was $1 million grant into Oregon State Parks local government grant program. And I think we'll know in, I think around July, maybe August, if we got that project. And so, as I said, we're looking for money wherever we can find it to kind of make sure we can meet the promises that we've met and build some great parks. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Any other questions or any pet projects out there that people have that they want?
I just have to say is, wow. I mean, there's a lot going on. Really amazing, great stuff. Good work.
Thank you. I don't know how to
Yeah.
stop sharing. Am I sharing my screen anymore?
Yep. And yeah, it's amazing. I mean, if you've ever done a construction project to your house, trying to managing it, let alone
Yeah,
this many is, I can't imagine.
a lot.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks.
Thank you. We have a lot of help. Our public works engineering team does a lot of the construction documentation. So we kind of span different divisions within public works to get all this work done.
All right, I can talk a little bit about the levy now. So the levy, we had a levy in 2018 that passed, then it was renewed in 2023. And the levy really gets at how we care for parks and our recreation facilities. With a focus on, while the bond is really building these new places, new rec facilities, rehabilitating parks, building new parks, etc., the levy is very much focused on the maintenance, and as well as some new programming actually going on over in recreation, which is really great. For the park side of the maintenance, this work is really around like increasing our servicing of restrooms and garbage pickup, maintaining trails, responding to graffiti, those kinds of things. And then it also has a pretty big park safety component. We have our 4 full-time park ambassadors that are funded with the levy, our 2 Eugene Police Park Resource Officers, and we have a illicit activity cleanup team. And so this team works to ensure that we are enforcing park rules, and that continues to also go very well. We did add another element to the safety team that was part of the levy and something that was a promise to the community, and that's really nighttime security. And so we do have a new security contractor that's working in our hotspot parks, Monroe, MLK, Washington Jefferson, Scobert, Monroe, and they can add in other parks when needed. So they're visiting them every night and reminding people that the park is closed after 11, between 11 and 6. And so that's been really helpful, and has decreased some calls and service that would normally have gone to EPD at night when they're at their lowest staff levels. So so that's going really well. Are there any questions for me about the levy side of the work? For parks at least, and then we can switch over to the rec side.
I wouldn't say questions, but I would just say that from my side, the public opinion, I've been looking for a place to buy and then now a place to lease. And so I've been asking a lot of questions about neighborhoods and parks. And there was one place that I was looking at that would have been right at the park on the Torrey Street Bridge. And there is a lot of positive public opinion about what's changed recently in the parks. So all that you're talking about, Kelly, people are saying it's changed within the last bit of time and it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
So
good.
just want to report that back.
Thank you. Our staff that roll in the morning too to maintain these spaces are kind of saying that, are saying the same thing. So that's been helpful. Thank you. All right, Craig, do you want to talk, or Ben or Joshua, a little bit about how the levy is used on the recreation side?
Sure, you bet. Recreation wasn't involved in the 2018 levy, but we did jump on the levy train in 2023. Primarily because we've had 3 bond projects completed during the pandemic that included, you're probably aware of, Echo Hollow Pool, Sheldon Pool, and Campbell Community Center. All 3 of those facilities were renovated, and all 3 increased in size and programmable space. So with that, we actually have $500,000 in the levy currently associated with the increased maintenance costs of those 3 facilities that we incurred when we renovated them and enlarged them. But because those 3 facilities also had part of the plan and design was to increase fitness space, programmable space at those 3 facilities, we have 1.5 staff in the current levy dedicated toward increasing more fitness programs for the community. Mostly in those 3 spaces, but it does include other spaces or open spaces where we do that as well. And then our final levy piece is increasing access to our facilities via rental space. And so we haven't completed it yet, but we do have a 0.5 person coming in to do centralized booking for facility rentals, because our facilities are some of our greatest assets as far as accessing it for the community and having the community program or have events in our centers that we aren't. So those are the primary things with the levy right now. We're in the very first year of it, so we're figuring some things out and building momentum toward it and getting some good responses toward I think the thing we got the greatest response from is the new warm water pool at Sheldon Community Center. And it's for fitness because it has some current channels in it, and it's shallow. And so we found out both ends of the spectrum, those who are my age and older are enjoying the current channel in the warm water for that type of fitness. And then we also are discovering that families, parents with children that are in their very first time swimming or getting a swim lesson love that pool. It's just been a huge hit, and every class we offer that is a parent-child swim lesson gets booked and field that's on that element we added. So it was one of the things that we tried to, if you remember, Tamarack Pool was kind of a warm water facility in our community, and it closed. And so within our aquatic system, we tried to recreate what we lost. And so we added that warm water element to it. So that's mostly what's happening in the recreation levy piece. I can add, you mentioned some of the things that are currently going on for us. I can just add, kind of while I have the mic here, that we're still recovering from the pandemic. It's been a long road, I think, for all of us, but for us, when the pandemic hit, we were crushed by lack of attendance. And then as the pandemic continued or ended, then we were crushed by lack of staff. We couldn't open our facilities as much as we wanted. We lacked lifeguards. And so after about 3 years, we're finally this summer feeling like we're coming close to the capacity we had in 2019. So it's been a slow, progressive trajectory up to where we used to be prior to the pandemic, but we're feeling good about where we're at now and getting ready for a great summer. That's all I would add. Yeah.
I gotta say goodbye, you guys. Thanks so much.
Bye, Claire.
Look forward to seeing you guys again.
Claire.
Bye.
Craig or Joshua, do you have anything else you would like to add?
No, I think Craig Smith did a really great job of explaining both where we're at in regards to the levy, along with some of the challenges that we've had since the pandemic. So no, I don't have anything to add.
I did want to mention that we are, working closely with the Eugene Parks Foundation, and they're doing some kind of value added items that are kind of on top of our bond projects. For example, they are currently raising money for a spray play area at Santa Clara. And so, we have the funding to build the park and many great elements, but then they're coming in and they're raising the money to add something that the community also really wants that we didn't have enough funding to cover. And so we're working with them on a number of projects, trails projects, fitness stations, spray plays, and they're a great group to work with. But yeah, this is just one example of how they're how we're kind of leveraging our dollars with them to make some of these bond projects just a little extra special. And with that, Craig, do you want to talk a little bit about the parks fee?
Sure, it's really more of a change to the definition of stormwater. Right now on your e-web bill, you have a stormwater fee. And Parks is within the Public Works Department, and we do a lot of natural resource work related to stormwater. But we're also just overall a green system, right? With lots of trees and lots of grass and other open spaces that we maintain. And for a long time, the city has tried to change that definition to include parks. And it just never really quite got to the council level for a number of different reasons. And, it's definitely been a revenue source that we've sought for quite a while, but we ended up, as I mentioned earlier, defer to an operational levy, which we'll probably continue to do. But the council did take this up recently and decide to approve the change of stormwater definition to include parks, to allow parks to start to bring in revenue from that fee. It's going out for a public hearing next month. And then hopefully after that, it'll be more official and just gives us a little alternating revenue stream to move away from the general fund, which, as you probably know, is in a deficit right now. And so they're looking for ways to shore that up. And this was one of them that's been on the books for a long time. Council has been very familiar with it. And that just seemed to be the right time for our city manager to move that ball forward. And we're hopeful that it'll move forward officially after next month.
So question for you on it, Craig, is this just opening up to use those funds for more park related kind of work, or is it going to increase the fee to add money to the kind of, what's the functionality of that?
It'll increase the fee a small amount right now to go towards parks and to basically cover some general fund cuts that are occurring there. But it will be a mechanism possibly in the future, because the stormwater fee is annually reviewed based off of what work we have going on out there across the entire stormwater program. There is an opportunity to raise rates as we move forward. And so one thought is that it could potentially replace the levy or parts of the levy moving forward down the road. But right now, it's just really more of a backstop for some other reductions that are occurring in the organization.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions about that? We might get done a little early, which is fine.
I know Dana's familiar with this, but you might want to just touch base on our community survey, just the results from the last survey, and the fact that we're going to be going out for another satisfaction survey this summer.
Yeah, so every year we do a park survey, and we talk about how people feel about their parks and natural areas, and how clean they are, how safe they are, how do people use these spaces at weekly, monthly, etc. And so we'll do that again this summer. And Terrell Group has a really great person on their team named Renee, who really is an expert in doing surveys. I really feel it's important that when cities do surveys that you work with folks that, have that as their background and their expertise, because the way you word things can be really important. It can lead to certain answers or not others. And so we're really, really grateful that we get to work with her every year on this. And the surveys have shown that people, of course, love their parks and natural areas, that they are over time seeing them be even cleaner and safer. And they also feel that the levy has been worth that additional cost. And so this is really, really important feedback for us as we do our work. And it's also important messaging to share with our staff so that they know how the community is feeling about their work. And so, yeah, so we'll kick it off again this year, and looking forward to doing that.
Just because I'm curious about this, what are some areas that have surprised you in past surveys? And then also, how is that survey used to shift or alter or enhance parts of our planning process or our future work?
Sorry, what was the first part of the question
Two
again?
separate things. What has
Almost-
surprised you from those surveys?
Oh.
Things that you're like, oh, hey, I didn't expect this to
Oh.
come up. And then the second is how do we use that survey to influence the way that we do our work as a city?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've always found the most surprising and persists to this day is like the more people are out there that are using the parks and natural areas, the safer and cleaner they feel. The folks that will answer, I never go to a park, are the ones that will say it's not very clean or not very well maintained, which is a very low number, thank goodness. But it's interesting, that correlation. I think that's always surprised me every year, that persists, that piece. But we use this survey in a lot of different ways. We certainly have included in our conversations with, mayor and council and with community members. And, it helps us know, are we staying on target with, all the things we're doing to increase like park safety, because like the number one issue is, homelessness is a huge issue on the survey every year. And it keeps us, focused on making sure that we are addressing, the impacts of that. So I don't know if Craig has more.
No, I think that was great. I would say the same thing around what was surprising. The more people use the parks, the more comfortable and safe they feel, and that they are clean. And the ones that don't are the ones that have a stronger perception that maybe they're unsafe or not clean. But we also have used some of the levy or some of the survey results around the levy to actually target increased maintenance in certain areas of the system. So places geographically that we heard back a little higher percentage that, hey, maybe you all aren't maintaining them as well as we would like, then we've been able to go in there and target that maintenance work and improve the service. So that's been another outcome from that survey. And then last week we used it as kind of a pep talk for our staff. We had an all division meeting and Renee was out and she was the one that actually helped conduct the survey, and she gave the results, and it just really is heartening and a morale boost for our staff to hear that there is a very high level of support for our services.
Carolyn?
Well, just speaking for myself, I had kind of known this, but it really reiterated and drove the point home how important restrooms are to people. Like the number one, reason why people either do or don't go to a park is if there is a clean restroom. And so when we were kind of looking at how we might reduce our services in order to help with the budget issues, we knew we couldn't cut back on restrooms. That's just, can't do it. Got to look elsewhere. That's helpful.
Craig Smith?
Yeah, just to run the survey discussion, it's I know in recreation we do surveys throughout the year at each of our program levels, primarily specific to that program, that facility, that instructor, and that type of thing. But for the first time since the pandemic, we're actually reaching out to a broad community survey that'll happen in the next few weeks. Actually, we tapped into the Cliptail group for putting this survey together. I don't know, Ben, if you want me to speak to it a little bit, or you're good too, or.
Yeah, I can speak to it a little bit. It's a bit of what we would have called a public participation survey that sort of assesses participation, lack of participation, barriers, and things that folks would want to see in the system. We did correlate it pretty closely in terms of demographic data with the library survey that we did about a year ago with Dana's group. So we had some similar questions to answer, but in the meantime, the equity team for the city has come up with some new recommendations. So there was a little bit of there's a few data points that we'll have to do some assumption on, but after about 7 drafts of this beast, we got her down to something that takes about 10 minutes to fill out. So it feels good. We are using Engage Eugene on it, and we'll be doing quite a few intercept surveys. So we'll be in parking lots similar to what we did with the system plan engagement almost 10 years ago now. This will include some outreach at public events. We are Bethel, some of the other things that we do throughout the summer. As well as through our traditional marketing, newsletters and those types of things. So we're pretty excited for the data. It'll set a nice benchmark for us, and we anticipate doing something like this every 3 to 5 years.
Thanks, Ben.
The other thing that the Trail Group, just to plug them again, sorry, Dana, but I'm not trying to, I don't work for you, I really don't. But one of the things they're also really good at is looking at data on the back end too, and like helping understand what it means. And one of the things they do with our park survey is they actually provide this very detailed report that helps us look at all of these things and creates all the charts and everything. And so they can, if you guys needed help interpreting your survey that you've created, that they can be a nice second set of eyes. So I just would, recommend that. Renee's pretty good at that. So
thank you, Kelly. I mean, and I appreciate, and I will pass on to Renee all of the great kudos. Thank you. What's going to be even more of a song to her heart is how you're using the data, because it's not just a matter of doing this survey, but actually using it for the good of our community that really warms our hearts. But it is true what Kelly said, like, even if you wanted to pass a survey that you've already drafted, I'm not saying, Ben, you need to, but I'm just saying anybody, anytime, one that you've already drafted or results that you have from even years ago, trying to compile them into something meaningful. Renee is good at doing that.
All right. Anything else that we need to cover today? Any other questions or?
Just a comment that I don't think it impacts you guys, but it's my understanding the baseball field at the fairgrounds is gone, but I'm assuming that's all through the fair board budget, not necessarily touches you guys, correct?
Right. All right. Well, I'll give you back a little more time in your day, 10 minutes. And I did not send out a reminder yesterday, but maybe I should have, seeing that Jill and others aren't here. So I will make sure I do that next time.
Okay.
It can be hard to remember. So, all right. Well, thank you.
Thanks for including me.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Good.
Bye.
Thanks for being here.
It's good to see everybody. It's been a while.
Yeah, good to see everybody. Take great
Bye.
care.